David Cameron has warned that corruption destroys jobs and holds back economic growth. Ahead of a summit the government will host later this week. The summit will bring together political leaders, businesses, sporting organisations, charities and pressure groups for talks in London on Thursday. For more on this, let's talk to Baroness Scotland, who is Secretary-General of the Commonwealth. Very good to see you. Talk us through, I mean, everybody understands, I hope, the problems of corruption, but what would this summit achieve?
Well, firstly, to say the Commonwealth is going to have a conference before the summit on the 11th, talking about how we tackle corruption together, because corruption unfortunately affects every single one of us in all of our countries, and it's quite clear that those who are exercising corrupt practices are in all our countries too, and they tend to be working together. So it's really important for us to work together, not just governments but civil society groups, businesses and others, because only with this conjoined working are we going to make a difference. And we know that corruption really is pernicious, it leads to poverty, and it's not just corruption in terms of money, because we know that many young people, women are selling their bodies, and this corruption is pernicious too. So it's a real opportunity for us to get together, put our heads together, find out what works. In the Commonwealth, we're talking about, can we create a Commonwealth standard in terms of how we procure things to eradicate corruption, and also about creating an office of criminal and civil justice reform, so we can highlight best practice and toolkits and give people the tools they need to fight corruption more effectively.
I was at an AIDS summit about Africa recently, talking about a lot of Commonwealth countries, and one speaker, very interesting speaker from Nigeria, said the real problem is not putting money into Africa, it's where the money goes when it comes out of Africa, and you, meaning the West, are just as corrupt as we are because you accept some of this stuff from rather dodgy leaders. I mean, it's a big generalisation, but do you agree with that? In other words, there is a degree of complicity in Western Europe because we look after the money of some of these people.
Well, I think it's probably not right to call it complicity, because there are those of us in all our countries fighting it, but they're absolutely right in saying this is not just someone else's problem, because we have to follow the money. Where does the money go? Who has it? And then we have to think about the tools that we need to create to stop that money flowing away from where it's really needed, because the countries who are really suffering from poverty and hunger and difficulty, they need that money for education, for housing, for children, for health issues, and we've got to make sure that the money goes where it's most needed. So I do agree with them that this is not just a development country's problem, it is all of our problems. Unless we get the whole of the global community working on this together in a very creative way, it's not going to happen. And that's why the Sustainable Development Goals are so important. And the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal 16, in particular, is something that we can all rally around, try and get the tools, share them, so we can fight corruption in a much more creative and targeted way. It's going to take all of us.
But I wonder if you haven't really put your finger on the problem here, which is that it is only as strong as its weakest link. And we have seen with legal activities, as exposed by Mossack Fonseca and other scandals involving tax avoidance, which is legal, how difficult it is to crack down on that, never mind illegal activities.
I think it's right, and there is a global conversation now going on about tax avoidance. But, you know, our concentration, my concentration with colleagues within the Commonwealth, and what countries are going to focus on now is the illicit, the illegal, because that is what we need to grip on. So I'm not saying that the other issues aren't important, but when you've got illegal activity which is destroying lives, I think we've got to hone in on that and give all the authorities as many legal tools as we can harness to make a difference. And lots of countries are coming up with some pretty smart ideas as to how to stop it. And my job as Secretary-General is to pull those together, make sure all our countries can share them, and if there are good whizzy things that one of the 53s are doing, then make sure all 53 know about it. And what's been really, really good is going around the 53 countries, there's a real determination from all of us that this is a battle, this is a fight that we're in, and we're determined we're going to win it. But as I say, it's going to take absolutely every single one of us. And it's not something governments can do on its own, or business can do on its own, or charities can do on its own. It means every individual needs to think, how can I help this? And just remember, in the Commonwealth, there are 2.2 billion of us in 53 countries. We cover 1/3 of the world. So just imagine if that 1/3 decides that we're going to use our common law, our common language, our common systems, and our sense of fairness, equity, and the rule of law to make a difference. Just imagine what we can do. And I'm hoping that that journey, that fight back, is going to be intensified next week, both at our conference, but also the conference and the summit that follows it, where so many countries are sending their leaders. And for us, Nigeria's president is coming, a number of other presidents are coming to the Commonwealth Day, and they're going to stay for the summit that follows it on Thursday, which is good news for all of us.
Baroness Scotland, Patricia Scotland, thanks very much for taking time to talk to us. Thank you.